The need for international assignment. Now, there are certain things that we will discuss. How to identify number one, filling a need in an existing operation. Second one happens to be transferring technology and knowledge to a work site or to a client's work site. Next, developing an individual's career through challenging tasks in an international setting. Next one, analyzing the market to see whether the company's products or services will attract clients and users. Then launching a new product or service. Then the goal of the international assignment will decide the assignment's length and help identify potential candidates. Now, how the selection process is, we will discuss. First, determining the purpose and goals for an international assignment. It will help guide the selection process. A technical person may be best suited for transferring technology, whereas a sales executive may be most effective launching a new product or service. Traditionally, organizations have relied on technical and job related skills as the main criteria for selecting candidates for overseas assignments, but assessing global mindset is equally, if not more, important for successful assignment. This is especially true given the international assignments are increasingly key components of leadership and employee development. To a great extent, the success of every expatriate in achieving the company's goals in the host country hinges on that person's ability to influence individuals, groups, and organizations that have a different cultural perspective. Employees can nurture a global mindset in an employee by developing certain personal attributes. Employers must also ensure that the screening process for potential expatriates includes an assessment of their global mindset. What are the major attributes or successful attributes of an expatriate? All the attributes, we try to club them into three categories. Number one, intellectual capital. It includes their knowledge, their skills, their understanding, and cognitive complexity. The second one happens to be psychological capital. It is the ability to function successfully in the host country through internal acceptance of different cultures and a strong desire to learn from new experience. Then, the third major attribute happens to be social capital. It is the ability to build trusting relationships with local stakeholders, whether they are employees, supply chain partners, or customers. Now, what are the characteristics of these expatriates? The first one happens to be cultural awareness. If you want to go to a different country, you should be aware about the culture. You should acclimatize with the culture before going there. The second one happens to be open mindedness. Unless we have this open mindedness, it's not possible for us to survive in those cultures. Certain times, some of our beliefs or some of the paradigms that we have, I think they need to be changed. Therefore, what we need is an open mindedness. And third characteristic happens to be confidence and self reliance. Several times we need to be independent, we need to have perseverance, we need to have our work ethics. The next thing happens to be flexibility and problem solving. We need to be flexible, confronted with the problems. We should be able to solve on our own. This requires resilience, bouncing back, adaptability, agility, ability to deal with ambiguity. The next thing happens to be tolerance and interpersonal skills. We need to have social sensitivity, or expatriates need to have social sensitivity, observational capability, listening skills, and communication skills. Then the next thing we need to discuss, we need to have skills, or expatriates need to have skills at handling and initiating change. We know because change will be there everywhere, and our ability to change is very important. We need to be agile. And this requires personal drivers and anchors and willingness to take risks. Then, what are the challenges that are faced by these expatriates? The first challenge is they have a hard time to fit in because it's not that easy as we imagine. Of course, I might come to that point how these people they adjust over a period of time, how this curve goes, we shall discuss. The second thing happens to be struggling with the language barrier. See, when you go to a different country, a language is very important. Then we talk about the dialects, they are very important. Sometimes our ability to understand those idioms, they are very important. Each region has got dialects, and these things are very, very important. This much I can tell you within our culture. Let's say some of you are from hailing from this Telugu and Telugu language, you know how this language has got different dialects and our ability to understand. Sometimes we struggle. Then the third challenge that we face, it is the understanding cultures and customs in those particular places. Fourth one happens to be, which is also very important, Acclimatizing to the local weather. Say, sometimes the weather, I think people they say they are, I know some of the expatriates, they tell they are working in extreme weather conditions. Sometimes it is too cold, sometimes it is too hot. So you need to acclimatize yourself to that kind of weather condition. Then adjusting to the new pace of life. Very simple thing. An Hyderabad person going to Mumbai, it makes a lot of difference. The pace of life is totally different. So you need to adjust, or sometimes you might be in a place where you are too busy, and when you go to a different distant land where people they are cool and chill, you need to adjust to that kind of life. Then worried about using. Sometimes you get a feeling that you have been used in all these things. Then how you manage your money, very important. Sometimes when you go as an expat, you get good amount of money, but unless you are conversant with how to manage money, I think you find it very difficult. Then international health insurance, and the most important thing, when you are away, you start feeling lonely. Sometime big question will come, what for you have gone there? I think these are the challenges that are faced by these expatriates. Now, we should discuss a few more things. Now, here, what are the determinants of staffing choices? What are the determinants of staffing choices? I think these are some of the things we need to discuss. The first one is agent of direct control. The second one happens to be agent of socializing. Third one, network builder. Then competence and knowledge management. Then boundary spanner, language node. I think these are the determinants of staffing choices. So, expatriate roles in the interplay of headquarters and local units. So, when you are making staffing choices, these are the things that you consider. Now, now we shall discuss some of these things. The expatriate as an agent of direct control. The use of staff transfers, they are regarded as bureaucratic control systems, where the primary role is that of ensuring compliance through direct supervision. The German companies tend towards this form of control. To a certain extent, using expatriates for control, it reflects an ethnocentric predisposition, but this can be important in ensuring subsidiary compliances, enabling strategic objectives for local operations to be achieved. There is an implicit expectation that expatriates the assist and the transfer of shared goals and beliefs. So these expatriate, first one, they help you to control. The second thing is they work as an agent of socialization. So there is an implicit expectation that expatriates assist in the transfer of shared values and beliefs of the headquarters. This writer by name Harsing, he names expatriates as those who transfer corporate values as bumblebees. Then the third thing, it's about expatriates as network builders. Now, expatriates international assignments, they're viewed as a way of developing social capital by fostering interpersonal linkages that can be used for informal control and communication purpose. Naturally, as employees move between various organizational units, the network of personal relationship changes, leading to, again, in the words of Harsing's analogy, expatriates, they work as spiders. How these employees are utilized in person department, people tend to nurture and protect their networks, to be selective about the way they use their connections and to evaluate the potential damage to key individuals in the network if the connection was to be used inappropriately. While short-term assignments may not allow the expatriate to develop as wide as range of contract in one location to the degree that a traditional assignment permits, over time they can increase the number and variety of networks, building channels for the transfer of ideas and competence. Duration of the assignments, therefore, we consider will have an impact on the person's ability to develop network. Then, expatriates, they're considered as boundary spanners. Boundary spanning refers to activities such as gathering information that bridge internal and external organizational context. Expatriates are considered boundary spanners because they can collect host country information, act as representatives of their firms in the host country, and can influence agents. For example, attending a social function at a foreign embassy can provide the expatriate with an opportunity to network, gather market intelligence, and promote the firm's profile at a high level. Then the next thing, expatriates, they're also considered as language nerds. Expatriates working for the elevator company or some companies sometimes become what they termed as language nerds upon their repatriation. When these people they come back, they function or their role or they'll be used like a connection, language not. Then transfer of competence and knowledge. International assignments, they do assist in knowledge sharing and competence transfer and encourage adoption of common work practices which may strengthen elements of corporate culture. They may contribute to further developing the social capital within the MNE. Staff in various organizational units also encounter different viewpoints and perspective that will shape their behavior and may reinforce their feeling of belonging. Now we shall discuss factors that influence the effectiveness of international assignments. Now, these are the factors we shall expand. Number one, open environment. Two, knowledge, information travel, consideration of personal network, knowledge transfer, expatriates abilities, motivation, relationships of local. These are the factors we shall expand. Factors that influence the effectiveness in conducting their numerous roles. Number one, the creation of an environment of openness and support for cross fertilization of ideas and implementation of best practice. So, what is required is openness, then support, then only these things will flourish. The second thing happens to be the need for knowledge and information to travel diagonally, that is, between the expatriate and the host location and back to the expatriate home location if the multinational is to benefit from international assignments as a mechanism for knowledge transfer. The second thing is how knowledge and information they travel. The third thing that we talk about, it is despite the recognition and importance of personal network in knowledge and information sharing, staffing decisions are often made without regard to their effect on network relationships. In many cases, there is no strategic approach applied to control for potentially negative effects. Then, there is a link between the duration of the assignment and the effective of transfer of knowledge. Some knowledge may be transferred quickly, while other skills and knowledge, particularly where a high level of tacitness is present, may take longer. Much of what is transferred depends on the expatriate concern in terms of ability to teach others and motivation to act as an agent of knowledge transfer. The success of the knowledge transfer process depends not only on the motivation and abilities of the assignee, but also on the local employees and their relationships. So these are the factors which they influence a lot. Now we shall discuss the role of non-expatriates or flexipatriates. What has tended to be overlooked is that a considerable amount of international business involves what can be called non-expatriates. Till now, we were talking about expatriates, but there are non-expatriates. People who travel internationally but are not considered expatriates as they do not relocate to another country. These non-expatriates can be called in international business. Different names are given. International business travelers, employees who spend a large portion of their time visiting foreign countries, subsidiary units, on international projects. Popular terms for these employees include road warriors, globe trotters, frequent flyers, and flexpatriates. These are the different kinds of names that are given to these people. International travel is an essential component of their work, such as international sales staff, whose job is almost totally comprised of international travel, and managers whose job entails numerous visits to international operations. International sales representatives attend trade fairs, visit foreign agents and distributors, demonstrate new products to potential clients, and negotiate sales contracts. Various staffs will visit foreign locations to deal with host country government officials, alliance partners, subcontracting firms, and foreign suppliers. Now, what are the issues that are involved with these expatriates or international business travelers? These issues we try to put into these categories. Number one, home and family issues, work arrangements, travel logistics, health concerns, and host cultural issues. First one happens to be home and family issues. See, whenever we are relocated, a lot of problems will come which are relating to our children's, the school event. The more frequent the travel, the greater the potential for family and marital relationships to be strained. The second thing happens to be work arrangements. The domestic side of the job still has to be attended, even though the person is traveling internationally. Modern communications allow work to accompany the business traveler who is often expected to remain updated with home office issues while away from the office. Then, the third thing, which is very important, this is relating to travel logistics, airline connections, hotel accommodation, meeting schedules. So these things are very important. Then the next one is health concerns. poor diet, lack of physical exercise, lack of sleep, coping with jet lag, and exposure to viruses and other health problems. For example, deep vein thrombosis from excessive air travel. Then host culture issues. An international business is conducted in another cultural settings. The person is still expected to be able to operate in unfamiliar environments and to handle cultural differences effectively. However, the limited empirical and anecdotal evidence suggests that non expatriates do not receive the same level of cross cultural training as expatriates. Now the other things. Non-expatriate business travelers, they also perform many of the roles of expatriates in terms of being agents for socialization, network builders, boundary spanners, and language nodes. HR strategies that could better meet the demands of expatriates. We have to design. Expatriates should be included in the job description, working contracts, and could be part of specific HRM policies for this target group. For example, selection criteria should go beyond technical knowledge and cross cultural skills and include, for example, health issues such as physical fitness. See, normally when you are taking flex pattern, you don't disclose all these things. But we have to disclose all these things because all these things will have a greater impact. The issue of working and traveling time must also be addressed with respect to recognizing the need for the employee to recover from international travel, adjustment to jet lag, changes in diet. If these concerns are taken into consideration, expatriates can even be more valuable alternative solution to international mobility. Now we will discuss about impatriate. An impatriate is an employee transferred to the headquarters of the home country of a multinational company from a subsidiary. Till now, we are seeing from headquarters somebody is transferred to a host country, but now the other way it is happening. An impatriate is an employee transferred to the headquarters of the home country of a multinational company from a subsidiary. Now, these impatriates, they're expected to share their local contextual knowledge with headquarters staff in order to facilitate effective corporate activities in these local markets. At the same time, they are socialized in the headquarters corporate culture and learn firm specific routines and behaviors that enable them to master future management tasks within the organization. As a result, impatriates seem to act both as knowledge senders and receivers. Despite desire to create global core competency and cultural diversity of strategic specific is the reason for impatriate managers. The second thing is desire to provide career opportunity in headquarters. Third one is The emergence of developing markets, which often are difficult location for expatriates. They include quality of life adjustment and cultural adjustment. The strategy of repatriation also includes that strategic importance of the headquarters is still predominant, indicating that the knowledge of the culture, the structure, and the process specific to the headquarters are still important requirement for vertical career advancement. Usually, the assignment to the headquarters aims at training the manager for top management position back home in foreign subsidiary. In many MNEs, an impatriate assignment may be a first and limited career step reflecting a rather ethnocentric approach. Now we shall discuss about recruitment and selection of international managers. Hiring and deploying people to positions where they can perform effectively is a goal of most organizations, whether it is domestic or international. Recruitment is defined as searching for and obtaining potential job candidates in sufficient numbers and quality so that the organization can select the most appropriate people to fill its job needs. Here, employer branding may play a crucial role, especially in emerging countries such as China or India, where it may be difficult to find enough qualified personnel for foreign companies due to the strong growth rates of these economies and fierce competition for talent in the local labor market. We have seen selection, recruitment, now we are seeing selection. Selection is the process of gathering information for the purposes of evaluating and deciding who should be employed in particular jobs. It's important to note that recruitment and selection are discrete processes, and both processes need to operate effectively if the firm is to effectively manage its staffing process. For example, a firm may have an excellent selection system for evaluating candidates, but if there are insufficient candidates to evaluate, then this selection system is less than effective. Both processes must operate effectively for optimal staffing decisions to be made. Now we shall discuss about recruitment and selection. And the first one is smaller number of external recruits, preference for internal recruits, and how to reduce selection risk to secure present and past human capital investment. First, that many firms have predispositions with regard to who should hold key positions in headquarters and subsidiaries. This predisposition we have discussed under EPRG: ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. The second thing is the constraints imposed by host governments, namely immigration rules with regard to work visas and the common requirements in most countries to provide evidence as to why local nationals should not be employed rather than hiring foreigners. These things can severely limit the MNE's ability to hire the right candidates. The third thing is most expatriates are recruited internally rather than externally. So the task of persuading managers, particularly if they are primarily working domestic environment, to recommend and to agree to release their best employees for international assignments remains a key issue for international HR managers. Then, the small number of external recruits is confirmed by data from the Global Relocation Trend Survey. Here, the proportion of external hires for internal positions was only 8% of all firms. This represented the lowest figure in the history of report. Recruitment of internal hires for expatriate assignments is preferred because this reduces the risk of poor selection decision. In an internal selection process, performance appraisal, personal reports, interviews with colleagues, and firm internal career plans, all these can be used as information sources in order to reduce uncertainty. The preference of internal recruitment is not only motivated by the minimization of selection risk, but also by the wish to secure present and past investments in human capital. In the case of expatriate recruitment on the external labor market, the selection risk is often managed by using specialized consultants. The more traditional devices of recruitment and selection, such as traditional job advertisements and executive search, can also be used. Staffing archetypes, local internal, local external, global internal, global external, that relate to human capital advantage. These are mainly concerned with knowledge and social capital advantages, including a positive effect on interaction and trust with the organization. Now we shall focus on selection of expatriate. Selection, we should understand, it is a two-way process between the individual and the organization. A prospective candidate may reject the expatriate assignment either for individual reasons such as family considerations or for situational factors such as the perceived toughness of a particular culture. The challenge for those responsible for selecting staff for international assignments to determine appropriate selection criteria. Now, this one is very important. What are the factors in expatriate selection? Cross-cultural suitability, family requirement, M&E requirement, language, country cultural requirements, and technical ability. Or we will start with technical ability, cross-cultural suitability. These things we shall discuss. These things we shall discuss one by one. Remember, expatriate, impatriate, flexipatriates, international managers. All these things are very important in international HRM or global HRM subject. See, now it is 3:51, I think. we shall discuss one or two points. The first one happens to be technical ability. Whenever you're choosing an expatriate, you consider the technical ability. Naturally, an employee's ability to perform the required task of a particular job is an important selection factor. Technical and managerial skills are therefore an essential criterion. Indeed, research findings consistently indicate that multinationals they place heavy reliance on technical skills during the expatriate selection process. Since expatriates are predominantly internal recruits, personal evaluation records can be examined and checked with the candidate's past and present superiors. The dilemma is that past presence may have little or no bearing on one's ability to achieve a task in a foreign cultural environment. Then the second thing that we need to talk about the cultural environment. The cultural environment in which expatriates operate is an important factor for determining the success of expatriate. Here, intercultural competence and related concepts, as well as the ability to adjust to a foreign culture, they play a vital role. However, a precondition for cross cultural suitability or soft skills that are also important in other national positions. Then the next thing we need to talk about soft skills. Soft skills are a criterion which is underestimated by many MNEs. They are a preconditions for intercultural competence, important success factors of international managers, and need to be considered in addition to technical knowledge and skills. Some of these things include psychological as well as personal factors, international experience, and language knowledge. Furthermore, a capacity to internalize and provide training to local personnel is an often neglected issue. However, this capacity may play a vital role for the success of an international assignment due to the crucial importance of knowledge and technology transfer. Then we talk about intercultural competence. Apart from the obvious technical ability and managerial skills, expatriates require cross cultural abilities that enable the person to operate in a new environment which guarantee the functioning of cultural diverse teams. This is often expressed by using the term intercultural competence, which is defined as the ability to function effectively in another culture. There appears to be a consensus that desirable attributes should include dimensions such as cultural empathy, adaptability, diplomacy, language ability, positive attitude, emotional stability, and maturity. These various issues can be related to three basic structural dimensions of intercultural competence. The effective dimension of intercultural competence reflects the emotional attitudes toward a foreign culture. The cognitive layer relates to cultural specific knowledge. The most important is the ability dimension because this includes the actual intercultural behavior. The intercultural competence related concepts Close related to intercultural competence is the competence of cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence is a specific form of intelligence focused on capabilities to grasp, reason, and behave effectively in situations characterized by cultural diversity. While it is very similar to the concept of intercultural competence, in also considering perceptual, cognitive, motivational, and ability elements. It focuses mainly on cognitive dimensions of this construct. There are other concepts which are related to this one: intercultural sensitivity, intercultural intelligence, global mindset, or global management competences, and use this as a more comprehensive approach to describe what kind of management skills a global manager requires. Then, the ability to adjust to a foreign culture. This factor has been consistent reason given for expatriate failure, and this has been the subject of considerable interest to researchers. The dilemma is that adjustment to a foreign culture is multifaceted, and individuals vary in terms of their reaction and coping behaviors. The concept of an adjustment cycle or curve is helpful in demonstrating the typical phases that may be encountered during cultural adjustment. I think some of these things we will discuss in our uh, next session. Of course, we have 2 minutes. I think we can do this one. The ability to a foreign culture phases. Phase one commences with the reactions prior to the assignments. The expatriate may experience a range of positive and negative emotions such as excitement, anxiety, fear of the unknown, and a sense of adventure. There can be an upswing of mood upon arrival in the assignment country that produces what has been referred to as the honeymoon or tourist phase. Then, as the novelty wears off, realities of everyday life in the foreign location begin to intrude, homesickness sets in, and a downswing may commence, a feeling that the party is over, which can create a negative appraisal of the situation and the location, leading to a period of crisis. This may be a part two. Then, this is the critical time and how the individual copes with the psychological adjustment at this phase, and this has an important impact in terms of success or failure. There is a suggestion that failure has an early recall may be triggered at this point. Once past this crisis point, as the expatriate comes to terms with the demands of the new environment, there is a pulling up phase three as the person begins to adjust to the new environment. And this levels off over a time to what has been described as healthy recovery. These are the four phases that are given regarding this adjustment. Okay, thank you so much. We shall discuss the other aspects